for me, Frida Orupabo is such a sort of vital artist. Her practice has evolved and matured, I think, in a really interesting way. And the timing or the moment in which we sort of find ourselves is really ideal for presenting Frida's work. And it's amazing how Frida has created a whole new body of work.
Yeah.
I mean, the initial exhibition was really composed of many loans.
Yes.
And she decided to actually take the opportunity to create several new works and to explore several trajectories in her practice.
When we started talking, I said to Frida that I would really like for you to work in the space, and I would like to see the works coming off the wall and into the room. And I think that she's kept that in mind, and she's been, I think she's been so brave. She's really been daring to try new techniques, new materials. She's really into something new. So it's a very exciting time in her artistry. And at the same time, I can see that she's so responsible to issues that are present in our world, I would say, world-wise, really, that she immediately digests and has an urge to really do something with that. It is, I remember Frida saying that for her, her work is about recovery and taking care of something that otherwise, in a way, would ruin you. A way of keeping sane. And I think that is really, she's so sensitive in that sense that she has to process all these very difficult issues. And and she does it in such a really, really powerful way. So I'm so impressed by her work, really.
And in a way, she's looking both at issues from the present, but also looking into, of course, archives of the past.
Yeah.
And so that word recovery that she just used, there's something about that which sort of hits the nail on the head, because I think she is sort of pulling and reimagining archives which are often sort of cut through with violent histories, whether of colonial violence, of gender-based violence, of racial violence. And she sort of resuscitates those images and reimagines these sort of quite difficult histories.
Yeah. I think that's really a way for her to move forward, speaking of time, because we have all this ancestry to take care of, whether we want to or not. And I think this is her way of really like trying to find a way into future and making sense of our history.
That's quite nice, this sort of looking backwards to be able to move forward.
Yeah.
That sort of necessity of attending to the past and attending to the present, because the work certainly does both, to allow one to go forward. There's something quite powerful about that. The title of the exhibition on lies, secrets, and silence, of course, comes from a book of poetry of Adrian Rich. And it's interesting the way that Frida is looking at many different art forms, whether that is film and popular culture, whether it's poetry and fiction or nonfiction, writing, with a history of photography, and these many different possibilities and cultural fields. How do you think about the title?
It really relates to the overall theme of the exhibition of relationships within the home. As Frida says that she really liked the title because she was kind of imagining children quite often, making up stories to try to explain situations, or also often have their own secrets. So she was kind of relating to the way we communicate in childhood, but also looking at Adrian Rich's writing. I think there are so many very similar interests between the two of them. They are both looking at the women's rights. They're also investigating theories around racism and injustices in society. So I think that their two practices kind of really dig into very similar issues.
There is a sense of that there's parallels, that they're, of course, completely distinct practices, working in very different forms. But there are ways in which they resonate and they run alongside one another.
Definitely. And maybe the most important is that they both give voice to women, and they do not want to stay passive through their work. They are really trying to give voice to women.
One thing is that when you make this work, it's in the studio, but everything changed when it moves out of the studio. And it's again placed on walls, and people will come and view the work. And I think that is also why I'm looking for certain faces, certain stairs, which becomes important. Because they need to, not every collage I make has subject that stares back. But it's some type of resistance that I look for when I go through the colonial archives. And most times it's something in the eye that I feel like, this is some type of resistance that is happening here.
There's images which sort of look down on you as you move through the space. Both representations of human figures and of other forms. We mentioned the bear earlier. But the way in which I think Frida complicates the gaze, both being looked down upon. We have a very particular relation of looking up at these objects. Is quite powerful, but it's never resolved. There's always a sort of complexity with that sort of gaze, which she doesn't let go of, and she holds on to that complexity.
Yeah, that's definitely something that she's very careful with. It makes the work so present. As you say, you almost walk through the space and you feel them looking back at you, looking down at you. So I think that is important for Frida, that we as viewers always have to be somehow in dialogue with the works. I think that was so important for her here when she decided to work with this particular architecture in a way, the plinths, where she was really looking into hiding and making the viewer move around in the space and see new constellations of work, and the works being in dialogue with each other. So wherever you stand in the room, you see something different. It's a different constellation of works speaking to each other, and again, adding layers to your understanding of what it is.